home. Okay? Okay. If you can all hand in your telephones again. Yes, please. Thank you very much. I feel as if I'm back in church when they were going around for the kwartje. For the dingers. Yeah, for the dingers. Oh my God. Okay. Adam. Okay. We are going to the last part. And this last part is your part. On your papers, you can see that there's in the last row, which question would you like to ask this speaker? All of you, what I would like you to do is look at Onat, look at Pieter, and think, which one of them do I really want to ask a question? And then write down your question. If possible, make your question about something you heard in the presentation. If you really have no idea what the presentation was about, people in the back, then make it a personal question, which is also okay. I will give you 1 minute to write down a question. 1 minute starting now. Now, everybody has written down a question. Please go to your teachers as a class and choose the best question in the class. Choose the best question in the class. Who wrote down the best question? The teacher decides. Teachers, you've got 2 minutes to choose the best question. 2 minutes.
Var mı benlik bir şeyiniz? Bir yere gidip gelmem lazım acil ondan dolayı. Yok gidebilirsin.
He needs to go. Yes. Okay, teachers, you have selected a question. The student who came up with that question will ask the question. Okay, teachers. See starter 8. Jill. Now, we will start with C starter 1. Can I please ask everybody to listen to the question and to listen to the answer? People, show some respect. Thank you.
Okay, my question goes to Peter. Did you have a big failure during your entrepreneurship? And if it's a big failure, how did you pick yourself up?
Thank you very much. So the question was about if I also have had big failures in my entrepreneurship. Yes, I have.
How you picked yourself up?
Yes, yes. Actually, I've written a book. It's over there. Unfortunately, it's in Dutch, in which I also have written down some failures. But I think one of the biggest failure is that I stepped into a joint venture with a technology company to develop an app for a smartphone, and we saw opportunity to use it for one of our clients. And we were so enthusiastic about making that app, and actually I was so enthusiastic about the fact that I was able to have the opportunity to make an app for smartphone, that we went crazy on it. And we started working and developing, and I'm not a software engineer, but I've had my ideas about what that app would, what the opportunity of the possibilities and the functionalities for the app must be. So we started working. We put ourselves in the room and started working. Also invested a lot of money. I think it was about 60,000 euro, so really a lot of money. And then it failed. And we realized that making an app is so difficult because you all have your smartphone, but you have your apps that you will open a few times a day, but when you have to create a habit to open a new app, it's so hard. So, and we didn't succeed for our customers to do that right. And what I've learned out of it is that when I make something new, I also have to get rid of my own ideas and start inquiring what my clients and my customers find important. But it did cost a lot of money, and also I felt the pain because of the fact that it was a failure. But now I can talk about it, and I even wrote it down, and I'm like what Onat was saying, it was an experience, I can learn from it. But I still pay to the bank at this time for that learning experience. So it was quite an expensive learning experience.
Okay, so one of the most important lessons, and I'm also saying this to our students who didn't listen, because the answer was, one of the best lessons I've learned from my failure is that you have to listen and you have to learn to listen, yes, to what other people say. And this is maybe a very big lesson for life, for everybody. See starter 4.
My question is to Peter. How can I find an investor?
Sorry, how can I find?
How can I find an investor?
An investor?
Yes.
Oh, that would maybe also interesting to share with Onat, but I could give my view on it. How could I find an investor? In the story of Onat, I think a very important word was mentioned when it comes to an investor, and that is trust. So an investor is not only a person who has money, but also a person who trusts you and also see the potential that you have. At this moment, I was talking about a company of mine, Manibam 45, in which we facilitate workspace. And we are starting a new workspace in a place in the Netherlands. We can pay it by ourselves, so we are looking to find an investor. And also there we see that trust is very important. We have to find a party that really believes in our approach, in our way of working, how we make the workspace. And there are certain ideas behind it. And it also is very important that, in my opinion, when I look at my investors, that you start to have kind of a personal relationship with them. Not too personal, because then it becomes, but yeah, see if there are similarities in what you find important for life, what you want to contribute to the world, and if you can find matches or similarities, connections between that, then the trust starts to being built. And another word in your story, Onat, was dedication. So when investors see that you are really dedicated to what you're doing, that you are even also want to take a risk, not only for the account of the investor, but also for the account for yourself, then there will become a chance that you start working together. And then an investor is also a person that is not only giving you money, but also is very critic in a positive way on what you're doing, and also gives you feedback, so that what you're doing becomes better and better. Is that Is that, yeah? Maybe Onat, you want to add to that? Or?
Yeah. First of all, investors they don't invest to your idea. They need to see work done. And if you are looking for money only without starting, it's not easy or impossible in Turkey. Maybe in Europe or US it's different, but in Turkey there's not a lot of investors, and the investors that we have, they are only investing money to some done startups. So my suggestion is start what you are doing, what you want to do, and bring it to a certain level, and then look for money. Like start do your thing. All I can do. Don't ask money unless you really need it, because in Turkey it's really became complicated when you got investor in your company. They want to rule you all the time. So my suggestion is that.
I'm asking to Peter, what kind of things did you have to sacrifice on your journey to success?
So the question for both of us? Or?
Yeah. Yes, actually, both of us.
Well, that's a good question. And it starts with the premise that I'm successful now. But let's say I am. I think time. So time is the biggest sacrifice. Sometimes also kill my own darlings. Like, it's not my children, but my ideas. Like I've said in relation to the application that I was making, sometimes I'm so convinced about my own idea that I don't listen to my customers anymore. So then I have to sacrifice my own idea to make it better.
I don't have anything to add, actually. Yeah.
So, same things for you?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Time and your own ideas. That's, if you're a bit creative, then it's very hard to sacrifice your own ideas. Yeah. Thank you.
Onat, you said you started when you were 16, and was it hard? I mean, 16 is so young that do your own business. You just saw 2 or 3 years the real world properly. How did you understand what should you do?
Well, I didn't actually. I just started because there's a saying that getting started is more important than being right. I mean, I just feel like I should start my own business because there was a problem and it's need to be solved. So we just started. We had no idea how the business works. We had no idea how the bureaucratic system on the internship programs works. We learned it, and we learned by doing it, and it became a business. Thank you.
Okay, my question to Peter. So if learning is regarded more important than education, then what will be my proof to prove my talent to companies? Because we all know diploma is a very important certificate to prove yourself to companies.
Yes, very important question. Thank you very much. So if if learning is more important than education, how can I show myself to companies? Excuse me, is that yeah? Oh, picture. Well done. Yeah, I would say when you become your own entrepreneur, you don't have to show yourself to companies. You don't only have to show yourself to yourself, and you know best what you can do. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make a portfolio, and not a portfolio. So gather things, and also so gather things that you have made, that you have created to show to companies, and also talk about your learning experiences. So show them that you are able to reflect on your failures and that you are able to learn from them. And that's something that you can do, for instance, in a portfolio, show the websites that you've made or other things.
We talk a lot about risks, so what was the biggest risk that you have ever taken before?
I think this one is for Onat, isn't it? No, both of us, yes. Would you like to start?
In business or in general? I walked in a frozen lake once. I guess I was in a high school, as I mentioned before. I didn't study my university exam. It was a big risk, but I made it. I came here. So, what else? I guess,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't see those as a risk because I enjoyed it while doing it, most of them.
And maybe the biggest risks are the risks that you don't consider as a risk on beforehand. You know what I mean? So I would repeat that sentence. The biggest risks are the risks that you don't consider as being a risk on beforehand. So when I started to make my application, it in fact was a big risk. But I didn't consider it as a risk when I started because I was so enthusiastic. So I wasn't able to reflect on what's happening and my risks, but afterwards I saw that it was a very big risk. So nowadays I try to also talk with criticasters about the ideas that I want to develop, to also maybe sometimes quit with an idea, and because I see that the risk is too big. So my risk is the failure that I just shared, but I didn't consider it as a risk when I started with it.
Hi, my question goes to Onat. Is it hard to be a student and entrepreneur at the same time?
Yes, it is. Well, while doing my business, I didn't pay attention to my classes, and it really affects my classes, my grades. But at some point, you find the balance, and you are doing a good job at what you're doing, and also you can study what you're studying. And also, if you are doing something related with your school, you can also practice your classes with your business.
Hi. What were your dreams when you were 9 years old? Both of you.
Both. My dreams. When I was 9 years old, I think I wanted to become a professional guitar player. I was a big guitar player since I was 7, and I really like a lot of guitar music. And I was part of a band actually until my 25th or something, and I even recorded a compact disc, a CD, and some music with that band. So when I've done that, I remember I thought, well, now my dream has become true, so this is the end of my life, but luckily it wasn't like that, and I'm still there.
My brother, elderly brother, is also a computer teacher, so I started using computers when I was 3, I guess, in 1998. So they were calling me engineer at that time also, because I was just sitting on a computer, I was breaking it and fixing it all the time. So it was related something computer, but there was no job thing for me that time. But it became clear after a while.
Hey, my question for Onat. What was the biggest thing about your turning point in your life?
I guess when we started our startup was started as a project. We didn't start it to get some money from people, but after a while, schools calls us, the other technical high schools. They wanted to be in our system, and we realized that we can earn money by this project, and it became business. So I guess that was the turning point for me, that I can earn money what I love to do that. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
You talk about advantages of being an entrepreneur, but I want to know: is there any disadvantage of being an entrepreneur?
Is there any? I'm sorry.
Are there any disadvantages of being entrepreneur?
Yes, the biggest disadvantage is that you cannot complain to anyone, because you are always responsible for the things that you are doing. And so I don't have a boss which I can complain to when things are not going like I want it to be. I always have to look at myself, and sometimes that's very tiring.
Also, Peter mentioned that you don't have to own a company to be entrepreneur. So there's a misunderstanding on entrepreneurship, that I will be a CEO, I will be super rich, I will not work, I will have flexible time. So these all are not true. You can be a CEO by starting a business right now, but it not make you super rich right now. Like after starting, you need to work a lot. You need working 10 years maybe to be super rich. You need to sacrifice your 10 years, and you will not have flexible times until you reach that point. You have to work days and nights all the time. So you need to kind of sacrifice your 10 years.
Do you guys realize how incredibly impolite you are? Do you have any idea how disrespectful you are behaving? Can you please just be quiet and listen to the answers for the next 5 minutes? And then you can go home and talk. Thank you very much. Next question.
My question is to Peter. Would you like your son to be an entrepreneur like you in the future?
Yes, well, at least in the sense that it's my definition of entrepreneurship. So I would find it very important that he is aware of his talents and that he is doing stuff that is in relation to his talents, and that he can explore his talents and also develop his talents. So what I try to do as a father is not to push him in a certain direction that I want. So that's what I find most important. And maybe he starts his own company, maybe he will be in a bigger company, but also then I hope he will be an entrepreneur in the way that he will be the director of his own learning and working.
My question is for Onat. How did you get the power to start again after failings in a job?
Well, it was just like meditation, kind of like thinking about it. What was the mistake that I have done, and what was the point that brought me here. So while thinking that, you are understanding after a while, like it took me like 5 months maybe to, well, okay, it's getting more clear after a while, and you know that. And when you talk with people, other people who failed in their business or who success in their business, you will see that they also struggles a lot of points in their life, and that you will understand that's normal.
Okay, people, I think we will leave it with this for today. If you are not connected to this girl, quietly leave the room. Quietly. Thank you.
All right, please go like this. Please leave her alone.
if you weren't, I'd have been shocked. Yep. Yeah, I was going to delete it, get it off of this computer anyway. Not that he won't do it, but. Okay, hold on. Yep. I am so much better with my mouse. Oh, there it went. Okay, what else do I need? Oh, not. What else do I need to get rid of? Is this yours too?
No.
Okay.
From TEDx, I guess.
Okay, so that's everything that we had on here that wasn't ours. Yeah, he'll pick that up when he'll come. He'll come turn all this stuff off.